गति शक्ति हमारे देश के लिए एक ऐसा नेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मास्टर प्लान होगा जो होलिस्टिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की नींव रखेगा, हमारी इकोनॉमी को एक इंटीग्रेटेड और होलिस्टिक पाथवे देगा.
Mission Gati Shakti that aims to reform the infrastructure sector and minimize the logistics cost.
PM Gati Shakti is a transformative approach for economic growth and sustainable development.
प्रधान मंत्री गति शक्ति योजना जो एक प्रकार से भारत के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट को एक नई गति भी देगी, एक नई दिशा देगी.
A plan to raise India's competitive index and match the manufacturing power of China.
Hi everybody, exactly 1 year back on 13th of October 2021, the Government of India launched a marvelous initiative to strengthen and boost the logistics sector of India. And this initiative was named as the Gati Shakti Masterplan. And just like the National Logistics Policy, this plan is aimed at fixing the logistical nightmare of India. And while most media houses will portray this policy to be a stepping stone to compete with China, unfortunately, the truth is that we are nowhere close to China and we are competing with those countries that we never considered to be our competition at all. To put that in perspective, while most media houses will tell you that a lot of factories are moving from China to India, in reality, if you look at the numbers, in 2018-19, 56 US companies relocated their manufacturing base from China. But surprisingly, while 3 companies came to India, 6 went to Mexico, 8 went to Thailand, 11 went to Taiwan, and 26 companies went to Vietnam. And this was because we had a major problem in the very functioning of our ministries. And unless we fix this problem, we will never be able to compete with our Asian competitors. This is the reason why the Government of India envisions to revolutionize the very functioning of our ministries with a trillion rupee budget. And the initiative to execute this plan is the Gati Shakti Masterplan. So the question is, what is so terribly wrong with India that in spite of having such a large population and abundance of resources, Vietnam, Thailand and Mexico are winning the manufacturing race against India? How will Gati Shakti initiative revolutionize the functioning of the Indian ministries? And most importantly, as citizens of India, what are the reference materials to help you understand this game-changing policy better? This video is brought to you by Small Case and they have a special announcement for Diwali, but more on this at the end of the video. To understand Gati Shakti, we first have to understand the current problems in India and why are we so much behind all these smaller developing nations. The first and the most important reason for this is our failure to build infrastructure efficiently and quickly. For example, even if the Indian government gives out a huge piece of land to a textile company for free, even if the labor costs in India are ultra cheap, unless that place has good highways, that place is of no use because there is no way to ship those goods in and out of that place. And another example of the same is the government investment in Krishnagiri district, wherein an industrial estate was established in 1993 with an area of 1093 acres. But because there was no reliable road and rail connectivity, even after 27 years till 2020, only 30% of that land could be allotted. So government policies, people, money, all of that is useless if there is no infra. Similarly, after the goods arrive in India, they should be able to move at a very quick pace without any delays. Because the more time vehicles spend in halting, the more inefficient the system becomes. Eventually, it increases the cost of production. A classic example of the same is the average turnaround time at Indian ports. For those who don't know, the average turnaround time for a port is the time taken between the arrival of a vessel and its departure. And mind you, these ships are rented by shipping companies from shipyards that cost millions, sometimes even tens of millions of dollars in just rent. So every single day of delay means the cost of transportation increases. And the sad fact is that while the Indian ports have an average turnaround time of 2.5 days or 60 hours, in China, the same turnaround time is just 12 hours. This means it takes 3 to 5 times longer in India to turn around a ship as compared to China. And this increases the rental cost of the ship, delays the delivery of products, eventually reducing speed and increases the cost of the end product. And inefficiencies like these are the reason why Indian traders spend $180 billion more for logistics. This is what handicaps the importers and exporters in India and make made in India products less competitive in the global markets. Now the question over here is, why exactly do we have so many problems? Well, the government of India itself puts it in three major buckets. The first problem that we have is the lack of coordination between ministries of India. And a classic example of the same is our road digging. Now, as we all know, road digging causes a lot of air pollution, noise pollution, and a lot of traffic jams. But road construction is extremely important, so we cannot complain if we really want development. But the problem over here is that immediately after the road is built, another group of people will come out of nowhere and they'll start digging. Why? Because they want to lay down the cables. Then the road will be built again, which means more trouble. But again, somebody will dig it up for installing sewage pipes, and this goes on and on. So taxpayers' money gets wasted with no development happening, and only the contractors get rich at the end of the day. Basically, if I had completed my civil engineering degree properly, I would have been rich today. So when this lack of coordination happens for giant projects like highways, ports, and gas pipelines, we lose a lot of money without making any significant progress. And this brings us to the second problem, which is a lack of standardization and approvals. And a classic example is our overbridges. You know guys, every time a road over bridge is designed in India, it requires an approval. And this approval takes so much time that when the Delhi-Meerut expressway was being built, due to lack of approval for a single overbridge, even after the entire road construction was completed, the commissioning of the project itself got delayed by 11 freaking months. Now, if an overbridge takes 11 months to be approved, can you imagine how much time it would take to get environmental clearances and land acquisition? It takes years. For example, the Vidyasagar Bridge in Kolkata was designed tall enough to allow the movement of ships to the river port. This project took 22 years to be built, out of which for 7 years there was no construction activity at all. And finally in 1992, when the bridge was opened for use, as it turns out, the ships had become too big for the rivers. This is the second major problem that we have in the functioning of our government. And the third problem that we have is the underutilization and miscalculated development. For example, during 1996-98, the Steel Ministry of India decided to set up a manufacturing unit in Assam. And after spending a lot of time and money in land acquisition and development, they found out that the acquired area was a natural swampy land of Brahmaputra and goes underwater during the monsoon. And again, this leads to wastage of taxpayers' money, lots and lots of delays, and no significant development. These are just some of the many problems in hundreds of different permutations and combinations that is pulling India behind. And this is the reason why the government of India decided to launch the Gati Shakti National Masterplan. This is a plan to basically accelerate India's infrastructure, and the government plans to do this through the joint planning of 20 plus major government departments, whereby every department gets access to a database of ongoing and future projects. And along with the information that they receive, they must upload their information to inform other ministries about their projects and their future plans. And when all this data is collated in a single database, everyone would have the right and accurate information on time. Eventually, using this data, they can coordinate and even synchronize their infrastructural development. So, let's try to understand how this will work using some simple examples. The first pillar of this plan is to have perfect coordination and synchronized planning. For this, the government has introduced a centralized portal and geographic information system by which all these ministries can coordinate with each other. For example, the Delhi-Mumbai expressway that is under construction is a 1,300 kilometer expressway. This is happening under the Road Infrastructure Department. Similarly, the Telecom Ministry was planning to lay down optical fiber cables along the similar route. Now, had it been the old system, either the Telecom Ministry would have dug up the entire section of the road after the construction of the expressway, or they would have actually acquired more lands to lay down the cables. And both of these moves would have been a terrible investment of time, money, and resources, especially because it's a 1,300 kilometer expressway that we're talking about. But you know what, guys? After the Gati Shakti Masterplan was implemented, both Road Infrastructure Department and the Telecom Ministry could actually see their projects overlapping. So they decided to coordinate. So now, first they'll be laying the 1,300 kilometer of optical fiber network, and then they'll be laying the highways. This way, they don't have to acquire any additional land, and the cable can be laid quickly without any digging or delays. And this one move itself will save thousands of crores of taxpayers' money. The second pillar is fast approval and efficient project planning. To tell you about it, the Gati Shakti mission is currently working to bring the land revenue maps of villages to the National Masterplan. So right now, every state government has undertaken the computerization of land records. But even then, the consolidated land records are not available anywhere for the users to see on one platform. But after the implementation of this phase, in 2023, if a ministry wants to make land acquisition plan in a 50-kilometer stretch, which includes 20 villages, Once these maps are updated on the National Masterplan, the ministry planning the project in that particular area will be able to see everything in those 20 villages through which the project will be passing. And without going to the Tehsil's office, they will know how much land has to be acquired and what are the problems in that particular alignment. So if it is passing through a wildlife sanctuary where it is difficult to get clearance, in the planning stage itself, they will modify the project to bypass the sanctuary. So the root cause of the problem itself will be tackled if only our planners had all the data in a single database. And this brings us to the third pillar of Gati Shakti, which is multimodal connectivity. In simple words, more highways, more ports and more airports will be built in coordination such that our major industries can decrease their logistics cost. For example, if we understand that a large quantity of coal has to be transported from Jabalpur to the Mundra port, a special rail and road network can now be identified and constructed by which the cost and time of transporting coal could be decreased. And here's where we have giant projects like Bharatmala, Sagarmala, inland waterways, land ports, Udan and many other infrastructural projects coming up. Similarly, in the telecommunication sector, a total length of 35 lakh kilometers of optical fiber network is to be laid down by 2025. This will connect all 2.5 lakh gram panchayats with high-speed internet and 4G mobile connectivity in the next 2 years. And here's where we have the cherry on the cake in the form of ULIP system of the National Logistics Policy. As in, you being a business owner, if you want to send something from one place to the other, if you enter the to and from data, the app will automatically show you the most optimized route to deliver your products. This will include all 4 modes of transport. So let's say you want to ship iron ore. Then the platform will automatically tell you that the most economical mode of transport for iron ore up to 400 to 500 kilometers is a slurry pipeline. Beyond 400 up to 1200 kilometers is rail, and beyond 1100 kilometers is coastal shipping. And wherever feasible, beyond 300 to 400 kilometers, you can even opt for inland waterways which are more economical. So if you choose rail, just like Ola looks for a vacant cab, this logistics system would look for an available porter for a particular date and available time slots for a train, and another porter to carry it from the destination station to the client's warehouse. Meanwhile, if there is a halt in between where the goods have to be stored in a warehouse, you will also get to see the number and types of warehouses available. So if you're shipping apples, you will need to book a cold storage warehouse. If you're shipping chemicals, you will need a certain temperature control storage, and so on and so forth. And lastly, while moving from one state to the other, while moving from one mode of transport to the other, while moving from one warehouse to the other, you will need a dozen permissions. Like I said, in the Indian logistics industry, you require a dozen certifications and permissions from different ministries that are not connected together. But in the unified logistics interface, it is expected that all the ministries will be tied together to make the process of permissions and certifications very, very easy. This is how the Gati Shakti and National Logistics Policy are expected to bring in a logistical revolution in India, by which our traders will have world-class and efficient connectivity to produce globally competitive products. And hopefully, it will encourage more companies to relocate from China to India as opposed to Vietnam, Indonesia and other such countries. So this looks fantastic, right? So can we say for sure that India will go on to become a market leader in manufacturing just like China? Well, I would say don't be too excited with headlines because we have a very, very long way to go. And this brings me to the most important part of the episode, which are the reference materials to help you keep track of Gati Shakti and to keep a very close eye on the government such that they end up executing this plan and don't just use this as a marketing gimmick. Meanwhile, if you're excited about the growth story of India because of policies like Gati Shakti and NLP, you could start your investments in the Indian stock market this Diwali with the Small Case app. I'm sure you all know about Muhurat trading. And for those who don't know, Muhurat trading is a special trading activity in the Indian stock market on the occasion of Diwali. Usually, it is held during the evening hour and is announced by the stock market exchanges notifying traders and investors in the non-scheduled trading hour. Indians usually buy gold during this Muhurat because it is an auspicious time. But now, you can continue this tradition by buying gold digitally and maximize your wealth by buying equity. This is where I came across the equity and gold small case, which invests in both these asset classes with a single click of a button. This small case has performed very well in the last few years and it could be a very good addition to your portfolio during this Diwali. So if you want to make the most strategic investments into the Indian stock market, download the small case app from the link in the description. Moving on, the first article that I'm attaching is a FinShots article that will throw light on the delays caused in our infrastructural projects. Read through that and you'll understand where exactly is the government lagging. Secondly, I am attaching a print article that will give you some beautiful examples as to how the National Master Plan will actually help the traders and ministries in the process of development. And lastly, I'm attaching a few government articles and documents which will give you an in-depth understanding of this policy. So do read through them and let me know what you think in the comment section. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button and how to make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.